In this episode of Men's Ministry 101, there's some certain areas where you need to start moving your men towards living for God. One of the best areas you can start with and focus on is in character. Developing men to become men of character, men who love God, men who are willing to serve the Lord and live up to the standards that God would have them to live by. Teaching a man, reminding him that a man is only as good as his word. If a man can't live up to his word, then he's not much of a man. And by encouraging your men to be faithful to God in their character will lead to faithfulness in many other areas of their life. One of the books that I enjoy using is Man of Valor by Richard Exley. This is an incredible resource as far as character development in men. The subtitle of it is Every Man's Quest for a Life of Honor, Conviction, and Character. Men want to be that hero. Men want to be that knight riding in on a white horse. Men want to be the one that does what's right. He slays the dragon, saves the maiden. Men want this. But we're trapped by our own bad character that keeps us from becoming that kind of a man. So I urge you to start moving your men towards character development. It's not so much just preaching at them. It's also modeling it. They need to see it in your own life. As a men's leader, they need to see it in your life. They need to see that it comes out of who you are. You know, if you want to do some movie nights with guys, you know, throw something on the grill and have something ready to play. Show a movie that deals with character, that deals with doing what is right, standing up for what is right. There's a movie that was put out some years back called Saints and Sinners, dealing in World War II, and it deals a lot with character. Highly recommend that movie. Guys like war movies and stuff like that, and that's actually an incredible one that you can show. Take for granted what may be the content, screen it first to make sure it passes your test and your pastor's test. Use ClearPlay. Highly recommend ClearPlay DVD players. Check that out online. I believe it's clearplay.com. We use it here in our church. Any movie night that our youth use or anybody else uses is powered by ClearPlay, which takes out offensive things out of a movie. But I really believe Saints and Sinners and things like that, where it deals with a man's character. Angel and the Bad Man with John Wayne, where he goes through character redevelopment. There's a story in here, and I'll just share something with you that comes from Richard Exley's incredible book here, Man of Valor. He talks about John Hinckley. John Hinckley Jr., you remember, if you're old enough to, I know I do, in my generation, was the one who tried to assassinate Ronald Reagan back, I believe, in 1981. Come to find out, John Hinckley Jr. had been watching a movie called Taxi Driver. If you remember that, I believe it was Robert De Niro played the taxi driver who was in love with this teenage prostitute played by Jodie Foster. And the taxi driver wanted to win the heart of this young prostitute by killing a government official. For some odd reason, the FBI found this out later, dealing with John Hinckley Jr., is that Hinckley's life, he had this weird fantasy that stemmed around Jodie Foster's portrayal of this prostitute. How he was, in his mind, he was trying to win Jodie Foster's love by trying to assassinate the President of the United States. What Exley was showing us was how the character of this man was full of weeds. This character of man was in a very bad place. He said this, I want to read this to you. Richard Exley wrote it. He said, "Many a man has mistakenly assumed that he could reserve a part of his heart for weeds, only to discover that evil is a malignancy that invades every part of his being. In time, its roots reach even into the most sacred areas of his life, choking out all that is good and decent. Ultimately, he finds himself behaving in ways that were once unthinkable to him. To be men of integrity, we must heed the admonition of the wise man who writes, 'Above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life.'" In character development in your men, what you'll do is you're teaching them that you can't say, all of me is for God except this little bit, which usually stems in our imaginations or our habits. I'll give God all of this, but I'm saving this for myself. Men have to understand it's either all or nothing with God. You have got to be all in with the Lord. Gordon MacDonald said almost every personal defeat begins with our failure to know ourselves, to have a clear view of our capabilities, negative and positive, our propensities and our weak sides. Oswald Chambers in his classic devotional, My Utmost for His Highest. If you got guys that are in a deeper walk with Christ and have a little bit of an understanding for deeper words, I highly recommend that you give My Utmost for His Highest to those men. But Oswald Chambers says, the Bible characters never failed on their weak points, but on their strong ones. Unguarded strength is double weakness. We have to be careful who we are. We have to teach our men, be careful how you think, how you act, because eventually it will come out. Ted Bundy, in his classic interview with Dr. James Dobson, Focus on the Family, right before Ted Bundy, the rapist serial killer, was put to death, he talks about how he started with a Sears and Roebuck catalog looking at the bra and panty section. And before you know it, he's escalated from a soft porn side, which is just in a catalog, advertising bras to women. That turned into full-blown pornographic habit, which went from there into murder and rape, and just a huge degradation of a man's soul. That happens because men do not pay enough attention to character development. The Lord summed it up for this in Psalms 19, verse 14. David said, "May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer." This has got to be something that we're teaching our men, how to be men of good character. Get yourself a copy of this. You can order it. It's produced by Whitestone Books. You can find it online, probably at your local Christian bookstore. You can order it. Work on character development in your men. Work on it with your teenagers. Again, don't keep your teenagers out of men's ministry. If you've got teenage boys in your church, they should be invited to all of your men's events. Your teenage boys are simply young men who need to learn how to grow into older men with good habits, good morals, and good convictions grounded on the Word of God. God bless you. I pray great things for you and your men's ministries group. May God use you mightily in recapturing the hearts and convictions of today's men.